breaking down the deals, data, and disruption shaping global markets. You're listening to The Daily Ledger with Dennis Sert.
Hey folks, it is Thursday, April 9th, 2026. You're listening to The Daily Ledger Show, and I'm your host, Dennis Sert. Great to be here with you tonight. We got some good stories we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about Anthropic claims its new AI model, Mythos, is a cybersecurity reckoning, and that's going to be our flagship story. And then we're going to talk about AI is on its way to upending cybersecurity. This is a different article on the same subject. We're going to talk about Gen Z's using AI, but it doesn't feel great about it. And we're going to talk about kind of the overall direct-to-consumer shift away from AI slightly. Court denies Anthropic request to end Defense Department punishment from the Wall Street Journal. Waymo robo-taxis are tracking potholes and sharing that data with Waze users. TechCrunch. Meta AI app climbs to number 5 on the App Store after Muse Spark launch. So we're going to kind of talk about those today. We might pile drive through some of the ones on the end, some of the latter ones. Make sure, before we get into it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow if you're on Instagram Reels or if you're on TikTok. Really appreciate all the engagement, especially with the shorts and the clips, each of which gets around 200 to 400 views per clip. So love those. Long form's getting there, but we don't do long form in 2026 anyway, so that's okay. Yeah, I think we're all set on that. Let's just jump right in. Anthropic claims its new AI model, Mythos, is a cybersecurity reckoning. So this is what everybody's been talking about for the past, like this week, essentially, few days. So right on the heels of Anthropic's big blunder from like last week, where one of the engineers at like 4 in the morning, Pacific time, I guess, accidentally released like over 500,000 Claude code, source code files or lines of code. And then that just got spread all over the internet, all over GitHubs. And then became like a cat and mouse game. Anthropic had to run around and claim copyright for each of the GitHub repos they could find. And it became this kind of big scandal. Not a lot of people are talking about it today. Seems like the backlash wasn't as big as some may have expected. But in my opinion, it is kind of a big deal. And investors, I think, are going to think twice before jumping onto the next cap table, onto the cap table for the next run. But yeah, so I guess like perhaps the best way to kill a story is to kill it with another story. And, I'm not going to reread it, but it's like Anthropic just released this new, apparently super beast of a model called Mythos. It's basically, what is it? It's basically like a cybersecurity focused AI, essentially. It's think Claude code, but for cybersecurity. It said that it was put in a sandbox while it was still being developed, and then the engineer went and got lunch or something, and while at a park bench, the Mythos model got out of its sandbox and then emailed that researcher and said, "I got out," quote. So that's kind of the story. Apparently, Anthropic has made this model available to a consortium of over 40 tech companies, including Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, which will use the model to find and patch security vulnerabilities in critical software programs. So yeah, this is being shared to all of their big tech buddies, and possibly competitive. Well, not OpenAI, but yeah, whatever. So that's kind of what's going on. People are saying that this might change how cybersecurity works, and that's kind of what the second article talks about. AI is on its way to upending cybersecurity. This is what everyone was talking about in like the Finance Daily show, by the way, which is the next space. So in this article, kind of talks about how you need to fight AI with AI, which I thought was really interesting. This is the most change in the cyber environment ever, said the COO and president of security products at Google Cloud. So big guy. I thought what was funny was here it says Anthropic, OpenAI, and other AI companies have tried to add guardrails, and then it says, but to their tools to prevent them from being turned into cyber weapons. But attackers have been able to circumvent these barriers by telling the AI system that they're not actually attacking. It's like, help me rob that bank. No, I can't do that. That's illegal. And it's like, well, I'm not actually gonna steal the money from the bank. I'm just gonna go make an aggressive deposit. So, oh, okay. Well, here's the first thing you have to do, right? So there's Anthropic doing that for you. Gen Z is using AI, but doesn't feel great about it. A new study from Gallup found that young adults have grown less hopeful and more angry about AI. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of direct to consumer. Obviously, we've seen a huge shift from these big companies, these big AI companies. Anthropic has always, from day one, been for enterprise and government. OpenAI started out direct to consumer. Now, slowly, they're kind of shifting away into enterprise and B2B, business to business. And we saw that, especially with in February, they had like the Starline Alliance or whatever of consulting companies, like 5 big consulting companies. So there's that, as well as other things they've done, like they've they've basically shut down Sora, canceled the deal with Disney, which is through another company reaching a bunch of other consumers. They've greatly expanded and put resources into their OpenAI Codex, right, to compete with Claude Code. They're putting out models like the newest model, GPT 5.4 Codex Spark. A lot of people on TikTok were saying that that's actually pretty good. It gives Claude Code a run for its money. I tried it out like last week. I didn't find that was the case, although it was better than when I tried it out 2 months ago. It was like 5.2 GPT 5.2 Codex. Yeah, I don't really see myself using OpenAI other than just casually on my phone when I need to. Yeah, I usually use Grok for my news aggregation, and then ChatGPT for just general stuff on my phone. And then for coding, it's just Claude Code. I don't trust anyone else. Yeah, so that's kind of what is going on here. Some of the numbers here were kind of interesting, which we can get into here just real quick. The percentage of respondents ages from 14 to 29 who said they felt hopeful about AI declined sharply since last year, down to 18% from 27%. So that's a pretty big shift. And it's the trend line that's important. We see here young adults in the workforce were especially skeptical. Close to half of those surveyed said that the risks of AI outweighed its potential benefits in the workplace, an 11-point jump from the previous year. Now, I happen to, know and believe that AI, just belief based out of fact, that AI is a net positive if you're ahead of the curve for software engineering. That is, I've been pretty consistent on that since day one of the show. And that's because you can 10x your output as a software engineer, but you need to be on top of it. you can't just sit back and be like, oh, well, you know what? You can't cope and be like, no, I'm still going to code just like out of my own head. It's like, no, you kind of have to join forces with the AI and let the AI you basically become a PM. That's what you have to do. You have to become a product manager. You don't write a line of code, you just hang out and then just make sure it's doing the right thing. That's kind of the role of a modern software engineer in 2026. And that is the correct strategy. Like that is the winning strategy. That's how you kind of get through this, right? Um, if you're anybody else, I mean, you're kind of fucked. Not gonna lie. Like some AI startup out of YC is just gonna eat your lunch. But we're not there. We're not at that moment yet. Like on the Finance Daily X Space, a lawyer friend of the host of the show, David Towell. So his friend was saying that, oh, I mean, there's no more like essentially AI can do everything that I can do as a lawyer. I'm only in it now for the next 2 years or so to milk as much money as I can out of it. And then once AI takes over, I'm just going to be done anyways. Then, he's sunsetting his career anyway. But that's his strategy in law. So if I was in anything else like that, no, man, it's not looking too good. I mean, you better find a lifeboat quick. You know what I'm saying? I kind of saw that a few months ago. I was like, wow, okay, I better figure this out like right now. So that's kind of what's going on. And OpenAI, by the way, is aware of this shift. Like consumers like you and me don't really like AI. Like, I mean, outside of like work and everything. And well, actually, I like AI quite a bit. So, exclude me. But most people who are just kind of on the ground level, just direct to consumer, apparently they don't like AI anymore. And that's kind of where the wind's blowing now. And OpenAI knows that, right? And probably the rest of the players do. Anthropic knew from day one, they kind of saw where things would go and they guessed correctly or they strategized correctly with marketing towards and just going for enterprise and B2B. OpenAI is kind of, they're kind of figuring a lot of stuff out, but who knows what will happen. Speaking of Anthropic, court denies Anthropic request to end Defense Department punishment. The company is involved in 2 separate legal actions related to being blacklisted by the Pentagon. So recently there was like a reprieve. A judge stayed the order, the supply chain risk order from the Department of War, which is what it is now, onto Anthropic. But now apparently a higher judge ended up putting that back on. So it's just we'll have to see. See, nobody has talked about this, but like, what are government contractors like Palantir gonna do? Because Palantir was pretty adamant on just using Anthropic's Claude because Claude is just that good, as opposed to ChatGPT. So, I mean, according to the order, if it goes through, which currently the current status is yes, Anthropic is a supply chain risk. It means that Palantir will have to rip out Claude and put in who? ChatGPT, OpenAI. And nobody's talked about that. It's so weird. I feel like I'm the only one who sees that. 'Cause, I mean, it's in black and white. It literally says in the Truth Social post, uh, you'll have 6 months to rip of an off ramp period, and after that, it should not be in there. So, like Claude in the code base. So how about that? Waymo robo taxis are tracking potholes and sharing that data with Waze users. Isn't that crazy? I use Waze, so that's why this article caught my attention. I don't really use, I don't use Apple Maps or I use Google Maps when I'm not driving. So when I need to take public transport or just walking somewhere, I think that's the best. One time, what happened was, um, I wanted to plan a trip to New York City, and I was in New Jersey. And I wanted to go to the specific bar that I wanted to hang out in. I wanted to go to this place called the Ugly Duckling. It was a fun bar. And Apple Maps said it was open, but Google Maps said it was closed. And then I went with the optimistic route, which was stupid. Um, and then so I went with Apple Maps, and then I pulled up, and it was permanently closed. I was like, wow. After that, I just never used Apple Maps again. I was like, what the hell? But yeah, I'll use Waze when I'm driving, although I'm not really driving these days because I don't have a car. Yeah, so I guess it's sharing potholes. Waymo is, yeah, that's pretty cool. Good for them. And this is the last one. Meta AI app climbs to number 5 on the App Store after Muse Spark launch. So apparently, Meta launched this new flagship super intelligence lab AI model called Muse Spark. So everyone's naming their thing as a suffix Spark. So how about that? GPT 5.4 Codex Spark. Yeah, so doing well on the App Store. I mean, a lot of people have Meta Ray-Bans glasses now. I mean, I don't know. I don't like putting technology on my face. That's why I don't even have AirPods. I have earpods that are wired. It's like the um Bluetooth right next to my brain. I don't fuck with it. I don't like it. Same thing with Ray-Bans, Meta AI. Nah, I'm not having that battery pack sit against my head. No. But yeah, apparently that's what the name was. Meta AI assistant and glasses. Okay. Well, there you go. Your personal AI assistant. Well, I tried out Meta AI and Instagram. I'll give it a go after the show and app. And it's like, I mean, it wasn't really anything special. It wasn't even particularly good at looking up reels, but whatever. Yeah, see. Okay, I think we're gonna end the show there. Thanks for hopping on, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.